From the 915 to H-Town, from the Panhandle Plains to the Valley, and everywhere in between. This is the 50/50 Podcast, powered by College Promoters USA. Join me, Hector Cano, as we cover the Texas high school club and college soccer landscape, along with an inside look at the college soccer recruiting scene. The 50/50 Podcast is a platform about the people and for the people who are dedicated to the beautiful game.
College Promoters USA, founded and located in San Antonio, operates as the only family-owned college recruiting company in Texas that brings a truly professional, local, and face-to-face approach to area high school student athletes and their families. If your son or daughter is serious about college athletics, call them at 210-494-6363 or visit collegepromotersusa.com anytime. College Promoters USA, the best investment a parent can make in their high school student athletes.
Here we go. It's another edition of the 50/50 Podcast, powered by our proud partners, College Promoters USA. They are America's premier college prep program and high school student athlete marketing service since 1997. You can find them on social media on Twitter at SATX Recruiting, as well as on Instagram at College Promoters USA. And you can also get more information on the many cool things they're doing and what they're about on their website at collegepromotersusa.com. My next guest, special guest, right? The man, the myth, the legend. He returns for his second visit in, what is that, about, I think, 9 months, 8 months. Second visit to the 50/50 Podcast. We were proud to have him, the new head women's soccer coach of the UTEP Miners, Coach Gibbs Keeton. Coach, how are you?
Hey, what's up, man? How are you doing? I think what's special about it is your show literally starts from the 915. That's right, from the 915. Let's go.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. That's pretty cool. Man. Pretty cool. Yeah, and pretty cool to share this moment. We're excited to have you here, obviously, but also cool to share this, as this is literally the 2-year. Today marks the 2-year anniversary of the podcast, of the show. So excited to be able to share this one with you, and for our listeners, for our supporters, keep an eye out, as we will be announcing a special 2-year anniversary show that is scheduled to come out in the next couple of days. So we'll talk about that a little bit more. But Coach, how does that sound? The new head women's soccer coach of the UTEP Mine. How does that sound?
Oh, it definitely sounds right. It's fitting. It's exciting. It's all the things you hope for in your first head coaching job. And yeah, you're kind of announcing it that way for the first time. I get to hear it, and it sounds and feels like a great opportunity, which is exactly what it was. And for you too, you're celebrating 2 years. Cool to have me on a second time. I don't really know if you've had the likes of G. Guerreri on twice, but just count that as a win for now. I can stay ahead of him and all those other guys that haven't been on twice. So appreciate you.
Yeah, awesome. Calling out Coach G already. I like it. I'm sure he'll love that, right? So shout out to Coach G as well. So yeah, I mean, what was that like the first time you said it? Maybe in conversation, you made a phone call, you introduced yourself. How different was that, right? Saying those words, the head women's soccer coach at UTEP, no longer mentioning Texas Tech. What was that like for you?
Yeah, great question. The biggest reality check with that is when I was calling kids I coach. So kids from the Lubbock area, kids I've watched grow up, and say, hey,
right,
this is Coach Gibbs from UTEP, not Texas Tech. We got to talk about your prospective future as a student athlete. What do you think? And that was the exciting, cool part. But I jumped on the phone with a couple of recruits and prospective transfer right away. So that was the first time I was really introducing myself. And those scenarios and those initial introductions, they're important, but it's important to know that those people are getting to hear from me first as well. But it was the surreal moment to introduce myself to people I've known for as long as I've been coaching, as like, hey, Coach Gibbs from UTEP, not from Texas Tech. But that was kind of the mind-blowing experience, introducing myself to the kids I've been coaching.
So when was the moment where it hit you, right? Where it was just like, obviously you had received notification that you were the selection for the job, but when when did it hit you? When did it have that? Was it when you maybe told your wife? When was
Yeah.
that? Do you recall that?
How much time you got? How long is this podcast set
We
up?
got on. Hey, we got on that. Hey, no one's listening anyway. It's just you and I. So.
Yeah. I know like one person that's maybe listening. They'll at least appreciate this story.
Right. Right.
But so here's the deal. This is funny. I was going on a birthday trip where my wife and I were going to go to Dallas and just got scheduling mixed up, not on our end, kind of on their end. Somebody that was a fan of the Longhorns messed up the schedule. So we had to kind of pivot and decide what we're going to do. And my best friend said, "Hey, you know what? I'm going to go to Lubbock. We'll hang out. We'll spend the weekend out on a lease that I'm on, and we'll do that." And he was like, "Whatever you do," this is funny. This is Coach Friend's world. He's like, "Whatever you do, don't change the schedule. I'm going to book this flight. Don't say you got to go recruiting or Tom wants you to go here or whatever. Just don't change the schedule." And I was like, "Man, I got you. Like I've planned this weekend to go see you in Dallas, so we're totally good. Don't worry about it." And inevitably I had to call and be like, "Hey, I got to change the schedule. But the good news is I'm flying back with you from Dallas." So
Okay.
long story short, like you talked about, they offered and we had been in discussions and everything was moving in a positive direction. And we had spent our time out getting to talk to him was great. But we were coming back into Lubbock to watch the national team game. And what happened is my wife had a chance to talk to her friends and family and really, it's important that everybody understands that it's our wives that are the rocks of the family. And when you have a
Right.
good supportive coach wife, it's so important. But I walked in the door and kind of put my hands on the counter and I was like, "Hey, before I could even finish the sentence of we got to decide, she just kind of stopped me and said, "We're in." And it just hit me like, if you're in, if our daughter's in, she's only 4, but she's got the personality of a 15 or 16-year-old, and she feels like her vote is the most important, and it probably is. If you guys are in, we're going to do this thing. And so that was the moment. I mean, interrupting our birthday guys weekend with super important decisions and trying to balance that. But it was really cool to walk into the house and have the support of your wife and her be like, "This is something I want to do. This is something you should do. But most importantly, we should do this." And I was like, "Wow, orale, let's go." It's game on, game on. I feel like it's a
All right.
really good
Yep.
story too, man. It's kind of
It
unique.
is. It is. That's great stuff. That's great
Yeah.
stuff. Thank you for letting us kind of peek behind the curtain there. So let me, so the $1 million question, right? Why UTEP? Why now?
Man. Lots of reasons, honestly, but so many good positive reasons. And why UTEP? You know what I like about this is that the question is why UTEP and not prefaced with your coming home, because yeah, I'm coming home. It's unique that I've been at a place where I finished my degree from and got to win a Big 12 at essentially my alma mater, which is really cool.
Right.
And to go to
Yeah.
UTEP, it's unique to go home. But people can't lose sight of why UTEP is the student athletes in the program. I feel like they were hungry for change. I feel like they're up for change. And most importantly, which kind of segues into the next decision, is they just crave more. And I want that. And they want more. I want more. And this is the part that's important. I'm reflecting on and deciding on, and everybody has to know, like, Texas Tech is going to have an incredible season next year. They're going to be amazing. But as I was balancing the pros and cons and familial and professional and everything that a coach has to go through, and really a lot of people in my shoes have done this multiple times in their coach journey, but I haven't had to do it.
Right.
But one of the decisions was knowing that Texas Tech was in amazing position from where we finished last year, our 2023 class, and transfers already. and just everything that I felt like they're going to be in such a good spot. So that was part of it. And then it goes to Texas Tech has three incredible staff members, three great leaders. And I was like, man, let's share. And we're always asking our players to do hard things and win another game after winning a game. And especially when you get into the knockout stages of the season, like we won one game. Well, let's celebrate, but let's win another. So I was just bringing all of these considerations in. And I was like, we've been asking our athletes to do more and be uncomfortable and be comfortable being uncomfortable. And I just turned that light from them right onto me. And I was like, yo, you got to walk the walk if you're going to talk the talk. And after a great visit and interview with UTEP, that was the kind of final piece before even speaking to my wife was just what those players deserve and crave at UTEP, the summation of where we're at Texas Tech, which I seriously believe they're going to have an amazing, I hope, just want to put it out there, record breaking season for them next year. And then add those together with an incredible visit. That was
Right.
it. That was why UTEP. You got to put some of this ownness of what we've asked our student athletes for so long. You got to put it on yourself. So it's a challenge, and with the players I met in the interview process and what I know about the program, I was up for it.
Yeah, you mentioned before we come, we'll obviously come back to UTEP, but you mentioned a knockout stage, right? So tell us very briefly just what you can share. What's thoughts on this World Cup? What's that been like for you?
Holy
Whether it's
cow!
whether it's the U.S. men's national team, the knockouts that especially the semifinal, quarterfinals. What's the big takeaway for you?
Yeah, you keep on asking me questions where you gotta play the music for me to stop talking, but I think this is a lot of people wanna remember this as the World Cup of PKs, but that for me, it's just this is the World Cup of the holidays. When has it ever been in the holidays? And the reward is extra soccer, I guess. I would prefer not PKs, but Morocco, the epitome of how to park the bus and play out of it, and the underdog of soccer, and probably, inevitably had a team dismantle them that could do so. And we feel like maybe in previous rounds that could happen, but that's what happens when you kind of take a team for granted. And yeah, so for me, this is the World Cup of the holidays. It's not a familiar season where the World Cup and Thanksgiving and Christmas line up. So
Yeah,
getting to watch it's been great. I loved watching the national team, our national team, and supporting them. And I found it pretty awesome that we didn't play great, but we created enough chances, especially the first chance of the game, to really shake things up in that game. And they pundits, maybe the media talks about them being young, but it's a 4-year cycle. If the head
right,
coach wants
right,
them to be young, he can pick them to be young, so that's by choice. And I loved the makeup and composition of where everyone was playing, for their domestic league. It's just so cool, man. And I was really surprised by our outside back play in a lot of the games, disappointed in their play in the last game, but I also thought a dominant midfield, which is incredible to say about our national team, and really missing what we've had previously, like a really solid nine. You think back to Clint, Landon, McBride, a variety, even Altidore in that role as a big, athletic, awesome player. We've had that position, and it was lacking a bit. And I think even all of El Paso would have liked to see a more dynamic player up there. And that was the only piece that for me wasn't really consolidated before getting to the tournament. And I think that's not great for us to go into the World Cup and change that position so often. I don't think that was changed for our team needs or our opposition needs. I think that was changing because of the performance of the individual players in some of the games. And
right.
so it's been a great World Cup. I could continue, and I picked France to win, but I'm really cheering for Argentina. You have the battle of two Manchester United center backs, and one's probably going to play with the French national side, and the other one's probably not going to play. So he'll be ready for when he gets back to England to play there. But in the Messi versus Ronaldo battle, I'm so pro Ronaldo. It's cute. So people, you can tweet at me, you can blow up my Twitter feed because of that. But Manchester United through and through. Love Ronaldo, but I'm cheering for Messi because I think in my lifetime I
Right.
want to see him win the World Cup, and he deserves it. He really does.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
What about
Yeah.
you?
It's pretty amazing. Yeah, well, from my perspective, I think as I look back on it, obviously we have one match, well, technically two matches left, but you know how it is with the third place match. The way I look at it, my I don't know, synopsis summary of this World Cup is this is, I think, the World Cup that has really solidified this is the World Cup where the possession argument has died. I mean, seriously, you had Croatia, Argentina semifinal. Croatia had 69% of possession, right? So I think from that perspective, and you've seen it, it's been a reoccurring theme in this tournament is the possession argument, the possession percentage and whatnot. That's in so many instances thrown out the window. And the other thing too is I think this is a tournament where you saw certain teams get old or old philosophies die, right? So for example, Germany new coach. I never thought we'd see them not be able to get out of the group stage in back-to-back World Cups, right? You look at Belgium, their golden generation that was on their way out, phasing out. They got old. They looked old, right? We saw that a little bit in Iran too, in the US's group to a certain extent, even though they were fun to watch. But yeah, and then you saw these counter capable countries such as Saudi Arabia, right? They lit up Argentina, at first game of group play. Obviously Morocco making history, and then you look at the Asian Confederation, right, and what they did, right, with their so, and looking at Japan, I mean, it's pretty phenomenal to see how the Asian countries, the Arab countries, they're starting to this is starting to become more true world football, world international football. So from that perspective, I think now will that continue, 4 years from now or 3.5 years from now in 2026 when it's here, on our soil? What will that look like then? What will we look like from the U.S. perspective? One of the things I'm probably most excited about, and you mentioned it, was our midfield play, right? Is like we came out with a clear newfound identity to a certain extent that we've never had, right? So how do we build on that? Obviously, we clearly need to identify not just one number 9, multiple number 9s in order to have one. Obviously, pretty salty that Ricardo Pepi wasn't on the squad, but yeah, that's a whole other conversation. And from the U.S. perspective, I think that I would say when I look back on it, I think it was a success given the age, given the fact that we weren't there 4 years ago. I thought they handled themselves well. The one part that I haven't been very proud of has been just the recent drama, right? From Berhalter, Reina, how all of that has been in the news. But then again, you have people who make that argument that that's just one more indicator that is showing that this country is becoming a true footballing nation, right? A true footballing, where the media we're talking about it more and we're talking about it consistently. So, I think those are probably my biggest takeaways. And as I look to the final, I would say probably I picked Argentina going in, of course, and then I thought, it's like, man, I probably got that wrong when they lost to Saudi Arabia. But they've adjusted well and they're playing well. And France, I mean, look at France. France has a whole all-star squad that didn't even make the trip, right, because of injuries. So that says a lot about France. And France, I think, is one of those that's their dynamic play, their direct, quick play. They're pushing that argument in terms of possession. Hey, we'll let you have the ball. We look at the tactics and the strategy, right? You look at how we played into the hands of the Netherlands of, we'll let you have the ball, right? And we're going to pick our spots. We're going to pick our moments. And I think I don't know. I want to say we're headed to a match that's going to probably go at least extra time, I think. And I'm rooting for Argentina, but something just keeps telling me that it's going to be France.
Oh, you're getting scared. Come on, man. Come on. Take your
Yeah.
team. Take them.
Yeah.
The one thing that I'll say is, I agree with you in so many different regards. And I think it's amazing the sport that we can watch and everybody picks something different. The only thing that I don't think you highlighted, which to me was like crazy and one of the craziest, most fun games, is what about the Netherlands when they decided to go direct? And you're talking about a
Yeah.
team that's,
Yeah.
oh my goodness, invented that style of play to some extent,
Right.
where they want to keep it and the technical ability to pass and move forward with the ball and dictate the tempo and possession. And they were like, forget it. Let's put our bigs on. Let's shake things up. I loved it. It got intense.
Yeah.
It got crazy. And I loved every bit of that game. So absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing that's for sure regarding the Netherlands is they have rediscovered a newfound rivalry with Argentina. That's for sure. Because that match was wild.
Yeah. Virgil stepping up in that game was just amazing.
Yeah.
Just could feel the passion from the TV, man. It was great.
Right. Yeah, it was great stuff. Great stuff. So we'll see. We're looking forward to that final on Sunday morning. So now
And then
tell us.
here's the deal, because we're both biased, right? We should speak to this for just a second. With Ricardo and how talented and popular he was, like, who's in charge of him to make sure that that continues and that he sustains that? And, like, who in our national team is wrapping their arms around those players to ensure? And maybe it's me being naive of how it works with the national team. And of course there's player responsibility, but
Right.
he moved teams and then moved again. And I just haven't even heard about what he's doing or what's going on. And I feel like that could have been something with a little bit of an investment that would have paid dividends in the World Cup. And again, I'm not there. I'm not in training. That's not what I'm saying.
Right.
I'm just saying who is handling his transfers and where he's going, and who's handling this projection versus this projection and that, and then maybe back up. And of course, that's what we're all trying to figure out. You would just assume the national team has the resources to be able to guide a young, exciting player like him.
Yeah, yeah, and obviously, as you mentioned, they are professionals, but sometimes it's kind of that direction of where they want to go, who's advising them, aside from their agent, right? Because sometimes the agent might be, leading them astray. But yeah, I mean, I know he was doing well.
Awesome.
He was doing well in the Eredivisie, but yeah, I mean, we'll see where that goes, and then you got this new crop, right, of this young group that's getting ready to break through, that's younger than the current generation that just played the current roster. So yeah, I mean, I don't think in light of how things have played out, particularly publicly and in the media, I don't believe that Berhalter will be the manager the next cycle. That's my personal belief. But we'll see. I mean, because that's going to determine some things as well, as far as just biases, preferences, and if he does remain the manager, right? How do you fix that whole trust process, right, with how things have played out? And then how do you move forward and now handle a group that's going to be in their prime, 3.5 years from now?
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
That's what I'm speaking to, right? Like, it's
Right.
managing that type of scenario, and it's really for everybody, for the team, not just one individual player. But yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yeah. So, we segue back over to UTEP, and we asked the why, why now, why UTEP, but take us briefly, and you gave us a little bit of insight there, but how quick, because it seemed like it was pretty quick from what you can share, take us through that hiring process. Like, how did that unfold? How quick was that? Was that anything like you expected, or was it totally different from what you expected?
You broke up a little bit after what was expected, but I can
Yeah,
still.
was it anything like what you expected as far as that hiring process, as far as just the process itself, how quick it appeared to move, or was it about what you expected?
Yeah, I'll speak to it as much as I can, and just giving some professional courtesies and things like that. Um, we got some French shout outs right there. Awesome. So the last hiring cycle, there were tons of jobs open, and I really thought about that process and went in hard for one job last hiring cycle. And after it was done, I had some regrets of like, hey, maybe I didn't put myself out there enough as an aspiring head coach, but I trust the process of the timing. And I know it's not in my hands. It's not something that I can control. And I'm totally okay with that and accepting of it. But I wanted to ensure that after this hiring season, that I definitely put myself out there. And you have these conversations with yourself. And next thing that happened, my phone was ringing and it was like, hey, we're interested in you potentially being the next coach at UTEP. What do you think? And for me, that was just number one, kind of shows a good standard of professionalism within the search just to reach out to someone from El Paso. And I think there's,
Right.
there's a handful of good coaches from El Paso, and for the administration to do their research and reach out to me and that be the initiation of this conversation. It was great. I was kind of ecstatic from the beginning. And so getting that call and then being like, you have to apply before anything can proceed. I had a great conversation, and the sports supervisor, Danny, who's also the business guy and the facilities guy at UTEP, he was in charge of it. And I felt like we just kind of hit it off because we're both from El Paso in the initial conversation. And, I don't know all the other details of all the other candidates that he had in mind. And from there, I applied, and he told me when the Zoom would be, and did the Zoom, and it was super professional too. I feel like that's part of this. I was evaluating them as they were evaluating me, and it was four people in that process, super professional, stayed on time, relevant questions, got to share about myself. Actually, what happened was, and I'll speak to this too, I didn't really give a great intro. They were like, tell you tell us about yourself. And I completely excluded all family things and was just ready to answer the coaching questions. And fortunately, got guided back into the conversation and answer the questions. But I think I closed really well with just a little bit more personal touch. And then they end with, and nobody likes this, like, this is the hard part of the process. But Danny was like, we'll get back to you in X amount of time and whatever. And he actually called me the next day, and he's, answered the phone a little somber in his tone. And Danny's a pretty hyped guy. He's really cool. And I was like, man, no way, Danny. Like, are you serious? And he's like, how about we schedule a visit? And he knew I was going to El Paso for Thanksgiving. So I was like, well, can I just stay and do the visit? That's more time appropriate. But anyways, got on the visit and went from there. But yeah, super professional. Went in with the expectation that, and I've told him this, that the administration was great because at Texas Tech, not only is Tom amazing, but our administration has been great. Our athletics director is just a good, wholesome West Texas guy. Our former sports supervisor is a friend of mine, and Judy Henry. She's amazing, and we got a new sports supervisor, and she's been for real, and it's been really awesome. So I wanted that. I was seeking that, and they were all down to earth and very professional. And going in with them trying to meet a high standard of expectation, they exceeded it. So I thought that was great, and just great job by UTEP all the way around. The biggest concern was, how are you supporting your student athletes? And they're doing it. They really are. And, I thought that was great. And that's what the team needs. And that's how we're going to push forward. So that was how the process went as far as step by step.
Yeah.
And that timeline was probably over maybe less than 3 weeks.
Mhm.
Just the reference is like Phoenix, ECNL, and then just before the announcement, kind of accepting it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I bet it was a 3-week process, and yeah, that's the way it went. It was really cool, and the only reservation was like, and I was talking to another school at the same time, um, was go to UTEP, see it, do it, and then they're like, "Hey, you got to decide by the end of the business day, Friday or whatever day it was." And I was like,
Right.
"Hold on, like time out. Like, is that serious? Like, you mean I gotta pop into the house and tell my wife, hey, what do you think about this? And you got to decide tonight." Like, ooh, I was like, I don't know about that. And we worked out the details, and
Right.
it ended up
Yeah.
being great. But yeah, like a 3-week time period, and exceeded my expectations, and felt really comfortable because of the players to make the
Mhm.
decision that we
Yeah.
made. So it was cool. It was
That's
really cool. It was
yeah.
good.
Yeah. That's great stuff. Thank you for sharing that. So, get the job offer, you make that decision with your wife, and then you go ahead. I mean, hey, you're going to go with it. How do you how do you break that news? And now you got to go to your boss, to Tom, right there at Tech. What was that like? Was that
Amazing.
was that m- obviously it's a good thing, right? And knowing the
Oh,
type of individual he is, he's going to be happy for you. But was it still more difficult to break than you thought?
no, here's the deal. Tom is an incredible person and human, and our relationship, people would say like, "Hey, you've worked for this guy for 13 years. Is it like a father-son relationship?" It's not. Like, I have an amazing dad and a great mentor of life, and Tom's been my boss and a professional mentor, and the guy is a single child, and he's like my brother, man. He's amazing. He's incredible, and I think initially he was like, "Yeah, go look at UTEP," and he was judging all the feedback and really being critical of all the feedback that I was giving him about the visit and even some of the things I've shared with you. And then once it was like, "Hey, Tom, I'm gonna pull the trigger," it was boom. You've been with me for 13 years. It's been so incredible. And just compliment after compliment after compliment and compliment. And you just feel celebrated. But it's one of our core values. And it's one of the core values we're going to have at UTEP, to celebrate the success of others. And that was honestly how I thought he would handle it. There's no other way for someone of his caliber of professionalism, intelligence. He's always
Right.
got his probably one of his well, two of his key attributes, these are related, is he's got a pulse of the emotion of the team, like when they need a jolt, when they need to bring it down. He's so good at that. He just knows when he needs to be hype,
Yeah.
or he brings the right tone of energy, and he's got all levels of it all the time. And he brought that. And then for him is he's hit home runs and grand slams in all of his hirings. And so I think he knows that where Texas Tech is right now, where we're headed, he has the ability to do that again. So telling Tom, like, awesome, the way I expected, no reservations about telling him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's
That's
the
awesome.
first person I told besides the guy I was with. Now telling the team, that's a little bit different.
Right. Yeah. That's yeah.
But what I wanted, coaches have left this program, and I'm sure since you're the Joe Rogan of soccer, but we have coaches that have left Mississippi State, one of the most incredible husband and wife coaches out there, and they are just awesome, and they've left. And we've had associate head coach go to Washington State, and we've had associate head coach go to Elon. And these have been, tough moments. And what's crazy, Hector, is I've been around for every single one of those. Like, that's crazy for me. And you can feel the emotion with that. And I
Yeah.
didn't want to get wrapped up in that because, number one, I wanted the girls to know how incredibly proud it is of me to be able to walk away from. I mean, this is my blood is here in this blood, sweat, and tears.
Right.
Literally here in this program. But how proud, and this may not have made total sense to them, but how proud I was that I could walk away feeling like they're in an amazing position.
Hmm.
And I wanted it to not be emotional and not be about the 14 years that Tom and I have spent together, because I feel like that's easy to drive the emotion of that conversation. But we told some stories. I told some stories about my daughter Sophie and how confused she was that we have to wear orange because we're definitely
Yeah.
right here with that. And so we had to have that conversation that it's a different kind of orange. And so they loved that and they were really engaged. And, I feel like they genuinely were happy for me.
Yeah.
And that was a little bit worrisome, but
Hmm.
things you got to do when you're on this path. And eventually it was going to happen, but I'm leaving a great team. And
Right.
again, that's
Yeah.
not a negative, that's a positive.
Yeah, I think, at any time, and as you know, we've had some of these conversations previously, is that I've been at my fair share of programs, both, on the college side and the high school side, mainly on the high school side. But it's always, I don't know, it's always a better a feeling of, I guess, being at peace with that decision when the program that you're leaving, you feel as if you're leaving it better than you found it, right?
Well, you can't
Yeah,
work for Tom and not do that. So he
right. Yeah.
he really challenges you to excel in that. And I do feel that way. And I think as a little bit of related to that, some of the cool things about getting hired was the tweet that Texas Tech sent out, an appreciation tweet. That was immense. And then, the
Mhm.
local D2 school here did the same thing. And I thought that was so
I,
cool.
s- I saw
And
that one. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and, those are my
Lubbock,
friends too,
Lubbock
and
Christian. Yeah.
yeah, and nobody knows,
Yeah.
but I worked there for a year as well, and honestly had a great experience there. But the other thing was I had a great conversation with I spoke about her earlier. I had a great conversation with Brandy, our new SWA and sports supervisor, and she's been great this year, and that was a good conversation because she's only been here for a small portion of my coaching journey, and I had a great conversation with Kirby, and now you can kind of see why it was important that the administration at UTEP shared these kind of values, and they really did embody that.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
so I'm excited, man, super excited.
Awesome. How how will UTEP look different under you?
Well, I think a lot of things are going to change. Um, what will look different is again, I want to make some things clear. The thing is I'm not returning home. I'm going to UTEP to coach these exceptional student athletes, which is a byproduct of being, or the byproduct is that it just happens to be in El Paso. And then the way it'll look different is I want everybody to know that this is not like a total rebuild. I think that would be a disservice to the work that these student athletes have put in the classroom, on the field, on their own time, with their available resources and things that they have. Everybody strives for more after a 4-win season. And so, yeah, so we're going to build from there. We're going to build upon their individual strengths, is the plan, and make it look a little bit constructed of how you were speaking about the World Cup and how it looks different. But I think there's definitely an emphasis on possession exclusively before. And, my style is a little bit different than possession exclusively. And I don't want to say it's counterattacking just because you said that. It's definitely a
Mhm.
possession foundation, but I want to get at teams. I want to be counter pressing, exceptional at it. And I want to be able to, you know, help the athleticism of the team put those people in the right places of the field, because from the games I've watched, from the film I've seen, from being hired, um, there's a body of work there that we can build on it and improve upon. And I just hope that they're ready for the change that's coming and join me and go on this journey of improvement with me. And it's not going to be easy and it's not going to be perfect, and it's a process, and that's a good life skill to learn about process. But I think that's where it's going to look different, is play into their individual strengths, a lot different coaching philosophy, um, geared towards just how we found success here. A lot of things that we've done successfully at Tech will be taken there, which I think is utilizing my experience to help improve the program. And that'll kickstart us. That'll be the difference for sure as it relates to what we want to achieve as student athletes. So that's kind
Right.
of Cliff Notes version, and we're going to dive into that as soon as we get into training. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah. Awesome. So, so obviously you have an immediate upcoming spring season, which I know you know that, and we do know you're working on your coaching staff right now. What becomes once you arrive and pieces start to fall in place? What becomes agenda item number one as soon as you get there and the pieces are in place?
Well, we've had our initial Zoom, and I kind of framed it in this regard, and then I'm going to tell you everything that's not X's and O's, because the team needs their fuel for the game. They need their passion. Wherever it's at needs to be refilled. That's step number one. We're going to give to that. We're going to help them appreciate, love, and enjoy the game. And how we're going to do that is a variety of ways. But that's objective number one. This is the place that I'm coming from. I know I can do that. I want to do that. It's collaborative, team and staff, and we're going to do that. What I framed out in the Zoom is, what is the identity of the UTEP soccer program? Like, who are they and who do they want to be? And so I framed it as it relates to the status of the team, because the end objective is that we improve our status in the conference table so that we can have success in the conference. But to get there, you're not just getting on the field immediately and seeking the improvement. How can we do it academically? How can we support our other UTEP athletics programs in the spring? And that becomes multifaceted of it's team building, it's getting to know each other, it's serving a role in our athletics department community. How can we support our female sports intentionally and be there for them? I went on the interview. I didn't tell you this. This is cool. I went to the women's basketball game, and I'm watching. This is just another little moment that I had. I'm watching women's basketball, and they're playing New Mexico State. And the basketball team basically played basketball how I envisioned the soccer team playing. They were up for the grind. They were dominating physically. They supported each other. They were brave and took risk, and they D'd up. They were all about it. And for me to see the basketball program do that, and what the basketball coach has done there, was like, let's go. But they got to go to those sports. They got to do that. They got to see that. And then, and I'll talk about this in a little bit too. You're asking me so many long questions. I'm sorry. But
No, you're good, man. You're good.
in the community too. Like, what is our status in the community? And how are we being perceived to get exposure to our program? Like, you can't just go, we want people to come to our game, see you there. That's not how anything works. You got to go make an investment. Hey, I'm Coach Gibbs. I'm the head coach of UTEP soccer. This is so-and-so. She's a player. She wants to get to know your daughter. What things can we make an investment in the community? And that's going to enhance our status. And they got to understand that we got to do all these things off the field to improve what we want to achieve on the field.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked about that at length. And then just the standards piece, I think everybody understands that. You're going to set the standards as a team. I'm going to set the expectations. We didn't really talk about expectations, but just for them to prepare their mind to frame what standards and how it can be improved before I even get there. Okay, frame it, get your mind right. It's coming. We're going to be there together. So, check in on your own standards. Where are they at right now? Like, hey, I went for a run at 7:00 tonight before I came on with Hector. What were you guys doing? What are your standards to make sure we have a good successful season next year? And but the reason I wanted to get back to that is, it's important that these are my objectives. You asked, what are some of the objectives? Is from UTEP, I want to graduate student athletes that have a awesome degree. I think UTEP provides that. Did you go to UTEP?
I actually did not. I did not. No.
Yeah, and I think they provide a great degree, and I learned all about it while I was there. And then I want them to graduate like other programs with lifelong friends. I want to see social media accountability, when social media can be a positive influence of, hey, they were in each other's weddings. They were doing these fun girl
Right.
trips together. Hey, they pursued alternative careers to get whatever it is. And then lastly, because this is the tie into the part where I was, is an appreciation for El Paso, a city I love, a beautiful place that can really be underappreciated, undervalued, and just stapled or labeled as the border town. But it's an amazing place. It's a bit of a diamond in the rough, as is Lubbock. Lubbock's a great place, but it's not necessarily a big thriving city with a Whole Foods and these types of things. But yeah, so that's what I want. That's what we're going to work on right away. Those things to lead us to those three last pieces I mentioned.
Hmm. Nice. So you stole a little bit of my thunder there, right? On the community piece, right? So no, it's good. I'm going to come back to it because I want to build on that a little bit. So, and by the way, just a side note, don't think I forgot. I didn't catch the Joe Rogan comment there. So, but
But my question is
thoughts.
now,
So
now
you're
that I've gone
okay.
45 minutes, did we lose our one listener? Oh no. Oh yeah, yeah.
Right. I think we're up to two. I think we're up to two listeners, but making progress.
Good.
No, this has been great, Coach. This has been great. So no need for the Academy Award wrap it up music, nothing like that. This is good. This is good. Thoughts. So you talked about the community, right? So what are some of the thoughts on engaging that El Paso soccer community beyond maybe what you just mentioned? You know, on the recruiting front, where are you? Because as you said, right, it can be a bit of an island, and because of where it's located, right, it's this great it's this great place that a lot of people don't know about. What How do you plan on engaging the community from that perspective? The high school slash clubs side of the world. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that El Paso is gonna have an El Pasoan at the helm, and it's gonna be a priority. And there's not gonna be really any excuses to what we do, and to announce this in a public forum. It's gonna happen. So it needs to happen. But yeah, doing those things.
Mhm.
But I think there's a couple of ways. Number one, it's obvious that El Pasoans are craving exposure of college coaches, and I made it plural specifically for a reason because it ties into number two. The staff and myself, we're going to go to high school games. We're going to go to whatever local club game can be of significance. We're going to be there, and we're going to be evaluating and doing things that the El Paso student athletes deserve. We're going to be out there. And a lot of those high school and club coaches are my friends. Some of them I've grown up playing soccer with in the El Paso area, and that's cool. So we're gonna be there, and we're gonna evaluate, and we're gonna provide exposure for them. The other way, we're gonna give access to high school and club coaches multiple times in the spring to come and watch a session and just make it a mini, I don't want to say seminar, just a mini open training session where I'll pick a topic afterwards. We can speak to the topic with a few of the players by my side, with the staff by my side. One topic will be recruiting, and we can hash out the details of recruiting. But to open it up, and I specifically use this topic as an example, I've said this word a lot. It's accountability, but it's two ways. Hey, if you're a high school or club coach and you're promoting your player to me, number one, have you come to watch us train when I've given you access to come see us train? Because I
Right,
highly
right.
encourage you to do that. Number two, have you come to the game to watch us play? Because I highly encourage you to do that. If you love coaching and if you're into coaching because you love it, you should be at those things so that you can have an honest assessment of what our team needs will be and a good comparison of what player to player might look like. So I'm going to provide access to the coaches for high school and club, and I look forward to doing that. And I understand there could be scrutiny and criticism associated with that, and that's okay. Like, it's everybody has a different coaching style. It's not perfect, and you described that with so many different World Cup teams. The other thing is we're going to have camps, identification camps, where other college coaches have already reached out and they want to be a part of it. And the reason they want to be a part of it is because we put on great camps at Texas Tech. And we really host camps at Texas Tech with all of West Texas in mind. And so we're getting coaches from New Mexico State, and we're getting coaches from St. Mary's, and we're getting coaches that have kids from El Paso, and it'll be another opportunity for exposure and evaluation. And that's really how I want to dig into the soccer community. I think as far as igniting the beast of soccer community in the area, I hope to work with the great staff at UTEP and to get ideas from locomotives and even Chihuahuas and their marketing and being creative that, hey, let's all work together to get people there. And as a team and staff, we'll do our best to put a product out on the field that people want to come back to watch, and that's exciting enough to watch and has an entertainment value that's, more than just the game. So those are the ways I really want to dig into the community. And our camps are going to be youth oriented too, and super fun and great summer and intercession resource for parents alike. And, we want players and the youth of the community to know each other. Some of the stories I have from here is like, our daughter's asking to go to the game because, so-and-so, Ashley was her coach at camp and made such an impression on her. Boom! I have a daughter. I want a student athlete to make an impression on her. That's amazing if a kid says that, because we're going to have great role models at UTEP. And that's what I want. And that's what I want the El Paso community to say.
Yeah. Yeah. Good stuff. Did, loosely related, definitely not directly related, but did you happen to catch the El Paso Locomotive announced their new head coach today?
Come on, man. Already followed him on Twitter. Haven't got that follow back. I don't understand why he hasn't followed me back yet. But I watched some of the trainings and some of the celebrations. I don't even know where he was before, but it was soccer, man. It was for real. And I don't know anything about it, but I'm cheering for any new coach. That's just the way it goes.
Right. Yeah. We'll give a plug there to Seriously Loco to see if he can give Coach Keeton if he can give him a follow. So, all right, great stuff. All right. So last question, Coach, here before we start getting ready to transition to our second segment. So this is one that I've been asking of all coaches as of late, especially head coaches. So put you on the hot seat here. So the 2023, and you alluded to it a little bit earlier. I don't know if you'll recall that, but the 2023 season will be a success. So finish this sentence. The 2023 season will be a success if
the girls on the team enjoy the season and the game more, and it's showing in the areas I discussed. That's classroom, field, and our status. That's an easy one today. It was much harder last time. But seriously, if their passion, excitement, and just overall vibe for the end of the season is in a better spot, then success.
Yeah.
Achievable too.
Great stuff. Yeah, absolutely. Very specific. I like that. Good breakdown there. I like it. It was amazing that of all the questions, that was probably the shortest answer. Because yeah. So good stuff. All right, Coach, don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back after a quick word from our sponsor.
College Promoters USA, founded and located in San Antonio, operates as the only family-owned college recruiting company in Texas that brings a truly professional, local, and face-to-face approach to area high school student athletes and their families. As the lead sponsor and proud supporter of the 50-50 podcast, alongside Coach Hector Cano, College Promoters is proud to be elevating its support for the college soccer recruiting process more than any other service in the country. If your son or daughter is serious about competing in college soccer, call College Promoters USA directly at 210-494-6363 or visit collegepromotersusa.com anytime. College Promoters USA, the best investment a parent can make in their high school student athlete.
And we are back with Coach Gibbs Keeton, the head women's soccer coach of the UTEP Miners. Let that sink in. Let that sink in a little bit more. So, all right, he's back. So, second installment of Counterattack. So you're well experienced with this one. We got to pick on you pretty good for being a Manchester United fan the last time. So, so I promise we won't pick on you for that this time. So, you ready to go?
I'm ready.
All right, let's go. First one: morning person or night owl?
Oof, man. If you're gonna hoot with the Owls, you gotta soar with the Eagles, baby. I am a night owl, but I can get up for things I love, but for sure, night owl.
All right, next one. How would you, right, the player you versus the coach you, how would you have coached you if you could go
Man,
back?
who wants to talk about the player me, man? That is so far removed.
Knowing what you know now on the coaching side, right? How would you have handled you? How would you have coached you?
The grow my experience earlier, because you can do that, and I see the best players doing that. And what I mean is, as I got into college soccer, I was addicted to training on my own. That's too late. It needed to really be in high school. And I loved training, and I loved juggling, and I loved doing that as a player. But in college, it was really skill set specific, technical specific. And I got
Mhm.
so much better in college. But for me, the reality is it was too late. And I needed to do that as a youth player. So if I could have coached my younger self, as a message for everyone, you can really mature in the game by devoting yourself more to the game. And I thought I was doing that, but I really wasn't. I really wasn't working on the craft that was going to make me better. So that's what I would do. I really did get a lot better in college, but that time was of the essence. It had passed.
Yeah. Okay. Next one. VAR, VAR, whichever one you want to call it. Thumbs up or thumbs down?
I'm okay with the VAR. I am, because it's necessary in some of these reviews, but the offside obnoxiousness of like
No.
an inch
No.
or two or whatever.
A kneecap.
Stop
A
making
kneecap.
the players not want to celebrate goals. Stop
Yeah.
it. Like, let the players celebrate and quit taking it away from them. But for sure, that's got to change somehow. Like, there's got to be like a one limb leeway. Like, if it's that close and it's your
Yeah.
elbow to your fingertips, let them go. My goodness, man,
Yeah.
killing
Did you
the
see that
game.
one? Did you see that one on Tim Weah where it was literally his kneecap?
Yes,
Yeah.
Is that real life?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. All right, next one. Big one. Big debate here, right? So King Kong or Godzilla?
Ronaldo.
One or the other. King Kong or Godzilla? That one's too easy. That's why I don't ask you that one. I already know that one.
King Kong.
King Kong. Oh my God. I don't know what it is with you guys in King Kong. All right, next one. Speak every language or talk to animals?
Oh, speak every language.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't want to know what my dog thinks about me. He just loves me right now. That's
Or
great.
so you think, right? Or so you think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's all I know. I don't need him talking back to me too,
Right. Yeah.
adding to the kids.
Yeah. My personal take on this has always been, as a soccer coach, it's a no-brainer. Speak every
Yeah.
language, right? So yeah, that's my take, right? So, all right. Most recent book you read or currently reading? Nice.
Do hard
Nice.
things. It's a good one.
Yeah.
It's I try to read a coaching book and just for fun book at the same time. So my just for fun book is a Jack Carr, a really good series and
Yes.
fiction. It's
Yeah.
I'm on the second one right now, but this book, I just talked about it. We ask our team to do hard things, and there's a right way to do it, and I recommend it. It's a bit of the transition of the old school coaching, not methodology, but mentality, and how it segues to kind of best get out of your student athletes to today's world. So it's good.
Yeah. He has a great, I don't know if you've heard it, his has a really good podcast too. So
Yes.
I believe it's trending right behind the 50/50 podcast, I think, but we won't go there. But no, he has a fabulous podcast too.
Yeah, he's
So
started as a podcast, maybe, I think.
yeah, good stuff. All right, next one. Instead of a coach in another life, you would have been what?
Oh, straight up entrepreneur, hustler, figure it out, work for myself, all of those things. I think it's amazing now, and amazing, maybe not the perfect adjective for this, but entrepreneurship's a major.
Yeah.
Who would have thought? But I one of the reasons I like camp is I like the business side of it, and I like um, a variety of things. Just some of the small businesses fascinate me, and like food trucks. What a cool concept and business to get
Hmm.
into, and just all things that are derivatives of that. Man, I could talk to business guys for forever, and people that raise the capital and have the capital, and just all failed businesses and what they've learned and how they've risen up, and those types of scenarios. Absolutely something related to that. Probably would lost my money multiple times in
Right.
all of that, but that's
Yeah.
also how I am. So
Yeah. I think you're the second of the handful of coaches I've asked that. I think you're the second to say that. I think
oh really?
I want to say Craig Shaw over at A&M Corpus Christi said the same. Kind of an entrepreneur or CEO, something like that. So I want to say entrepreneur. But yeah, that's pretty cool. That's pretty awesome. All right, next one. Watching a movie alone in a theater. Yes or no?
Yeah, absolutely. If you're by yourself, what would you rather be doing? Nothing or being entertained? So no problem. And air conditioner, nice, nice.
I'm amazed. I'm amazed at how many people make a big issue about that and just being somewhere eating by yourself. For me, that's like some of the most peaceful stuff. I'm not afraid to. Maybe I don't know if it's a coach thing. Maybe you're just when you have some peace and quiet and can be with your thoughts. Maybe I don't know.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
think, for guys like you and I, what are the things I don't like to do by myself? I don't really know. Not sure.
Yeah. 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 It's a great point. Yeah. I guess I didn't think of it from that perspective, but yeah, very good. All right. Next one. Football or soccer? What's it called?
The best commercial of the World Cup is what it's called. But I'm taking my boy David Beckham, so I'm going
Hmm.
on I'm going on Beckham's side.
Yeah. Okay. He does slip up though in that commercial, right? Right. That's where
Oh yeah,
Peyton catches him that one time. So, all right.
absolutely.
Last one, coach. We're going through these. We're doing well. So, last one. This is another one I've been asking as of late. Um, Scaled 1 to 10 in terms of how good or how bad of a driver you are. One is you're god awful. You should have your driver's license revoked immediately. A 10 is you're the standard, right? You're the absolute best, the gold standard. What what would what would people rate you? Now, what would you rate you?
Yeah, that's funny.
What do you think people, the most important people in your life that have been in a vehicle regularly with you, what do you think they would
Well,
rate you?
I think I'm a 10, but that is not the answer to the question. The exact answer is about 3 years ago. And one of my best friends here, Tim, he's very reserved, and he just straight up told me, he's like, "Yeah, you suck at driving," and I was like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "I buckle up every time I get in here." And yeah, I have another friend. He's the strength coach here. His name is DJ, and he is the worst driver I've ever been with. And I'm like, "Have you ever rode with DJ?" And he's like, "Yeah, DJ's the worst, but you're." I was like, "There's no way that can't be me." So you got to take your really good friends for the value that they have and the influence they have in your life. And
Yeah.
you put me at a 5. Let's just average it out then.
Oh, wow. Okay. Honesty. I like it. Okay. Good deal. Good deal. So, coach, this has been fabulous. Have loved having you back on the podcast. Thank you for your accessibility. Right away, it was an immediate access thing. It got announced and it was just, hey, let's get you on the pod, and you were all about it, and I really appreciate that. I just the humility in terms of you, and that, I love that, and I think it's a great thing, obviously, as well, and really hoping for, wishing you, your staff, your athletes there at UTEP, wishing you nothing but the absolute best success, a very healthy and successful 2023 season. Obviously, it starts with your spring, but kind of before we go, so we got a couple of things to get to, but any plugs that you have as far as where can we find you on social media, but also your spring as far as upcoming showcases, events, where you will be? Do you have any of that you can share?
For sure. I've learned that the UTEP Instagram, this is coming from my wife, is really good, and that it's probably their best social media outlet. So I'm going to step up my coach specific social media to improve on Instagram. So I'll link that to my Twitter, because Twitter's kind of my soccer social media avenue. But
Right.
it seems like I need to keep up with the times. Absolutely, just a self assessment. So I'll improve on Instagram, but Twitter's at Gibbers7. That's a good one. And then as far as recruiting, we'll definitely be out. We'll be at El Paso high school games, and we want to know who you are. You can email UTEP Minor Soccer 915 at Gmail, your schedule, and tell us about you, and send your highlight video. I want to get to know our El Paso faithful. We're going to be at ECNL events. We have a great budget. Look forward to getting the staff out there. We're going to be at GA events. I may even be headed international to an event
Nice.
to find some 23s to just improve our 23 class. And we're going to be everywhere. So say hi to us if you know the Joe Rogan of soccer podcasts, and give him a shout out. Make sure you say what's up, prefacing that Hector, and yeah, that's kind of the shameless plug. I think that two things: be looking for UTEP camps that will be announced
Mhm.
probably early January, February.
Okay.
Come to the Texas Tech Elite Winter ID Camp. That'll be my not last. That's not even close, because I'm going to be here for whatever events they hold here at Texas Tech. But that'll be my first, is a better way to say it, rocking some UTEP gear at that Elite Winter ID Camp. That, of course, Texas Tech puts on a great show, and
Mhm.
gets coaches and great players, super competitive
Right.
atmospheres. Those are the things I need to plug for sure, and excited about that.
Great stuff. Yeah, great. And can you share that email with us one more time that you mentioned?
Yeah, UTEP Minor Soccer 915 at gmail.com.
All right, UTEP Minor Soccer 915 at gmail.com. Great stuff, Coach. Thank you. So, as is customary now, kind of a newer tradition that we've adopted, is we try to give, and I know you just shared some plugs there, but any final, we'd like to give end on final thoughts. So whether they're shout outs, thank yous, anything, whatever's on, or just a final thought that's on your mind, we'd like to end on that note. And since you're our guest, we'd like to start with you. The floor is yours.
Yeah, it's the holiday season, so everybody should just be thankful and grateful to each other, and try to communicate with those that you haven't in a while. I think reaching out to your friends and family can go a long way. It's always an important attribute of a coach to be a good communicator. So I encourage all of those maybe listening, reach out to your friends, be that person that calls them, and don't feel bad when somebody doesn't call you. And the only thing that I want to close with, and I challenged our team to do this. So as we get into the new year and the resolution making, we've got a long path and process ahead of us, and whatever you set for your resolutions, or however you do that, I challenge them to not to fold, do not fold. And I just challenge everybody else, don't fold, man. You can bend, but don't break. Stay on your grind of whatever that might be, and really celebrate the small steps to get you to your end goal. That's the way to do it, and that's the way to keep you moving forward.
Well said. Well said. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I can top that, but That's great stuff. I guess really my final thoughts are, it's a special, could potentially be a once in a lifetime, definitely probably a once in our lifetime event in terms of a World Cup going on during the holidays. I know we have a few more episodes coming up before the holidays, so we'll kind of reserve some of our happy holiday messages. But
Yeah.
obviously, please be safe. Please be safe out and about. Pretty much for the most part on the in the high school world here in Texas, everyone goes on break beginning tomorrow. But be safe out there. Take care of each other. And but in terms of the World Cup, right, is what I was getting at. Is a once in a lifetime event. It going on during the holidays, and and then it's always great because I know that whenever we have the men's World Cup, we got the women's coming up, and with this being so late this year, we're about 6 months away, I think, before the Women's World Cup in Australia next year. So
It's right around the
so an
corner.
an exciting time. And I think in terms of this final on Sunday, take it in, enjoy it. It's arguably, the best player to ever, lace them up, is going for glory to try to win, win the one trophy that's eluded him, and Lionel Messi. So that's, I think, got to just enjoy the moment. Make sure you watch that so you can say that you can recall seeing that moment, no matter what the final is. So final score, final predictions on a score, Coach.
Yeah, I'm going to go that probably Mbappe and Messi going to score, and so is our Man City foe. I'm thinking it's going to be a little bit of a throwdown, so maybe 2-1. 2-1. You're saying tie and extra time, but I'm throwing down on 2-1. See what's up.
I feel 3-2.
Do you?
3-2 in extra time, France. Even though I predicted Argentina, right, and I'm kind of pulling for them, but
You got scary.
I don't know. It's
I'll
kind of
remember
one
that.
of those where
When you say you're cheering for UTEP, I'll remember that.
yeah. All right. Good deal. Well, Coach, this has been great. This has been fabulous. Have definitely, like I said, appreciate having you on. Wish you nothing but success. And for our listeners, again, thank you for everything you continue to do in support of us and support of the podcast. As you know, you all are the reason why we do it. Being listened to now in 42 countries. I always preface with, I have no idea how that happened, but we're grateful for it along the way. And we'll take credit for it. But the downloads exceeding our daily, weekly, monthly download goals has been fabulous. And, we're grateful. Oh, we got one here. Let's see. What do we got here? So here we go. France. Look at that. France 3, Argentina 2 in extra time. So that is Coach Rafa Castorena, who's my co-host on Inside Texas High School Soccer. So I think him and I are aligned there. So we'll see. But again, you can find us on social media on Twitter at 50_50pod and on Instagram at 50_50 podcast. You can also find the audio version, the actual podcast audio version, on all major podcast platforms. And we're now also always been on YouTube, but now you can also find us on Twitch. So go on there, sign up, follow us if you're on Twitch. Great alternative platform in terms of live streaming. So follow us there as well. Subscribe to the podcast on YouTube so you can get more data, more content that we plan on providing in the next several coming months as we enter the Texas high school soccer season. So that's going to do it again. So for Coach Gibbs Keeton, the new head women's soccer coach of the UTEP Miners, I'm Coach Cano, Coach Hector Cano. Till the next time, keep downloading and keep listening. You've been listening to the 50/50 podcast, powered by College Promoters USA. Help us continue to grow by liking, rating, and subscribing on all major podcast platforms. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter at 50_50pod, on Instagram at 50_50 podcast, as well as on YouTube at the 50_50 podcast. Until the next time, keep downloading,